Mom's sick, so I came instead." The morning sun filtered through the tall glass windows of the Sterling Corporation building, casting golden rectangles across the polished marble floor. The building stretched 30 floors into the Chicago sky, its steel and glass facade reflecting the bustling city below. Inside, the quiet hum of business filled the air, phones ringing softly, keyboards clicking, and the gentle whoosh of elevator doors opening and closing. On the 20th floor, in the executive suite that overlooked Lake Michigan, CEO Marcus Sterling adjusted his navy blue tie and checked his watch. The silver timepiece, a gift from his late father, read 9:50. It was 10 minutes before his next interview, and Marcus prided himself on punctuality. In his world of mergers, acquisitions, and million-dollar deals, time was the most valuable currency. Marcus had built his company from nothing. 23 years ago, he had been a young man with big dreams and empty pockets, working 16-hour days in a cramped office above a deli. Now, at 44, he commanded a business empire worth hundreds of millions. His company employed over 3,000 people across 12 states. The journey had been remarkable, but it had come at a cost that grew heavier with each passing year. Long hours at the office meant missed dinners at home. Weekend business trips replaced family outings. Forgotten birthdays and school plays had become routine casualties in his pursuit of success. His marriage had ended 3 years ago, and his twin daughters, now 15, lived with their mother in California. They called him every Sunday, but the conversations were polite and distant, like talking to a well-meaning stranger. Today's interview was for a senior personal assistant position. Marcus needed someone exceptional, someone who could handle the demanding schedule that came with working for one of the Midwest's most successful entrepreneurs. The role required discretion, intelligence, and the ability to manage complex schedules across multiple time zones. He had reviewed 67 applications over the past month and narrowed it down to 5 candidates. Each one would receive a 30-minute interview, starting at 10 o'clock sharp. The first appointment was with Sarah Thompson. Her resume had impressed him immediately. She had worked as an executive assistant for a federal judge, managed complex logistics for a nonprofit organization, and spoke 3 languages fluently. Her references described her as reliable, intelligent, and incredibly organized. On paper, she seemed perfect for the position. At exactly 10 o'clock, Marcus heard a soft knock on his office door. He straightened his shoulders, settled into his leather chair behind the massive oak desk that had belonged to his father, and called out in his usual business voice, "Come in." The door opened slowly, with a hesitation that seemed unusual for someone coming to an interview. Marcus looked up from the file in front of him, expecting to see a professional adult in business attire, someone ready to discuss quarterly reports and international conference calls. Instead, his eyes met the most unexpected sight of his 23-year career. A little girl stood in the doorway. She couldn't have been more than 5 years old, with blonde hair tied in 2 small ponytails that bounced slightly as she moved. The ponytails were secured with pink elastic bands that matched her dress, a soft pink dress with tiny flowers embroidered along the hem. Over the dress, she wore a gray cardigan that was slightly too big for her small frame, the sleeves extending past her wrists. In her tiny hands, she clutched a brown leather folder that looked enormous against her diminutive size, like a grown-up briefcase carried by someone playing dress-up. Marcus blinked twice, certain he was seeing things. Perhaps he had been working too many hours, maybe the stress was finally getting to him. But the child remained there, very real and very present, looking up at him with wide blue eyes that held a mixture of nervousness and determination that reminded him etchingly of his own daughters when they were small. "Excuse me," Marcus said gently, his business voice automatically softening to the tone he used when speaking to children. "Are you lost, sweetheart? Where are your parents?" The little girl took a careful step into the office. Her small black shoes, which Marcus noticed were polished but didn't quite match, making barely a sound on the thick burgundy carpet. She looked around the spacious office with wide eyes, taking in the floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, the awards and certificates lining the walls, and the stunning view of the lake beyond the windows. She cleared her throat, the way she had probably seen adults do before important conversations, and spoke in a clear, serious voice that seemed far too mature for someone her age. "Hello, Mr. Sterling. My name is Emma, and I'm here for the 10 o'clock interview." The words hung in the air between them, creating a silence so complete that Marcus could hear his own heartbeat. He felt his world tilt slightly, as if the earth had shifted on its axis. He set down his pen and leaned forward, studying the child's face more carefully. There was something familiar about her features, something that tugged at a memory he couldn't quite place: the determined set of her small jaw, the way she held herself with quiet dignity despite her obvious nervousness. "Emma," he repeated slowly, tasting the name. "I think there might be some confusion, honey. The interview today is for an adult position, a job for grown-ups who help other grown-ups with their work." Emma nodded solemnly, as if she had expected this response. She walked closer to his desk, moving with careful, measured steps. When she reached the edge of the massive oak desk, she had to stretch to place the leather folder on its surface, using both hands as if it weighed as much as she did. The folder was worn at the edges, clearly well used and well loved. "I know," she said, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what she was attempting. "But Mom's sick, so I came instead." The simple statement hit Marcus like a physical blow. He stared at the child, his mind racing to process her words. Slowly, like puzzle pieces falling into place, understanding began to dawn. The familiar blue eyes, the determined expression, the careful way she had dressed herself in what were obviously her very best clothes. Emma, Marcus said carefully, rising from his chair and walking around the desk to kneel beside her. What's your last name? Thompson, she replied without hesitation. My mommy is Sarah Thompson. She was supposed to come see you today about the job, but she's been sick for a long time. She really needs this job, Mr. Sterling. We really need her to have this job. Sarah Thompson. The name clicked immediately in Marcus's mind. He remembered the application now, single mother, excellent references, 8 years of experience as an executive assistant. Her cover letter had been professionally written, but had carried an undertone of genuine need that had stood out among the dozens of others. He had been impressed by her qualifications and had looked forward to meeting her. But this was something entirely beyond his experience. Marcus remained kneeling so he could look Emma in the eyes at her level. Up close, he could see the careful attention that had gone into her preparation for this moment. Her hair had been brushed with the kind of loving care only a parent would take, each strand smooth and neat. Her dress, while simple, was clean and pressed. But there were small details that spoke of a child managing on her own, a tiny stain on her cardigan that hadn't quite come out in the wash, shoes that were polished but didn't match perfectly, and most telling of all, a determined expression that was trying very hard to hide how scared and overwhelmed she really was. Emma, he said gently, can you tell me about your mom? Can you help me understand why she's sick? Emma's composure wavered for just a moment. She looked down at her small hands, clasped tightly in front of her, then back up at Marcus with those two serious blue eyes that held depths of understanding no child should possess. The doctors say she has something called cancer, Emma said, pronouncing the word carefully, breaking it into syllables the way children do with difficult words they've heard adults say. She's been going to the hospital a lot, like, really a lot. Sometimes she goes early in the morning before I wake up, and sometimes she's gone when I get home from school. She tries to hide when she feels really bad, but I know. I can tell when the medicine makes her sick. That's why I help take care of her now. Marcus felt something crack open in his chest, a wall he had built around his heart over years of focusing solely on business success. Here was this tiny child, no bigger than his own daughters had been at that age, carrying burdens that should never belong to someone so young. She was showing more courage and selfless love than most adults he knew in the corporate world. She really wants to work for you, Mr. Sterling, Emma continued, her voice growing stronger as she spoke about her mother. She says you're a good man who helps people, and that working for you would be the best job in the whole world. She studies your company every day. She knows all about your projects and your awards and everything. She has newspaper articles about you in a special folder. Emma, Marcus said, his voice rougher than usual. How did you get here today? Did someone bring you to my office? Emma's face lit up with pride at this question, as if she had been waiting for him to ask. I took the bus, she announced, all by myself. Mommy showed me how to ride the bus lots of times, in case of emergencies or if something happened and I needed to go somewhere important. She gave me money from a special jar and wrote down your address on a piece of paper. She doesn't know I came here though. She was sleeping after taking her medicine, and I didn't want to wake her up because she needs lots of sleep to get better. I left her a note on the kitchen table that said I was going to help. Marcus closed his eyes for a moment, overwhelmed by the child's bravery and the impossible situation she had created. When he opened them, Emma was still watching him with that steady, hopeful gaze that seemed to look straight into his soul. Emma, he said slowly, I want you to know that what you did today took more courage than anything I've seen in all my years of business. You love your mom very much, don't you? Emma nodded vigorously, her ponytails bouncing. She's the best mom in the whole world. She reads me stories every night, even when she's tired. She makes me pancakes shaped like butterflies on Sunday mornings. She helps me with my homework and teaches me new words. She sings to me when I have bad dreams. Emma's voice grew quieter. But now she gets tired a lot, and sometimes I hear her crying in her room when she thinks I'm sleeping. I want to help make her happy again. I want her to not be scared about money anymore. Marcus felt his throat tighten. In his world of profit margins and market strategies, he had forgotten what real courage looked like. It wasn't about making tough decisions in boardroom meetings or negotiating million-dollar contracts. Real courage was a 5-year-old girl taking a bus across the city to help her sick mother, carrying hope in a leather folder and wearing her best dress to ask a stranger for help. He reached for his phone and dialed his driver. James, I need you to bring the car around immediately. We have a very important passenger to take home safely. Then he looked back at Emma, who was watching him with curiosity. Emma, we're going to go see your mom together. But first, I want to ask you something very important. When you grow up, what do you want to be? Emma thought for a moment, her small face serious with concentration. I want to help people like you do. Maybe I can work in a big building with windows and help mommies find good jobs so they can take care of their kids and not be worried all the time. 20 minutes later, Marcus's black sedan pulled up in front of a small apartment complex on the south side of the city. The building was older but well maintained, with flower boxes in some of the windows and a small playground visible in the courtyard. Emma had chatted nervously during the drive, telling Marcus about her favorite books, her best friend at school, and how her mother made the best grilled cheese sandwiches in the world. As they climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor, Emma suddenly stopped and looked up at Marcus with worried eyes. What if Mommy is upset that I left? What if I get in trouble? Marcus knelt down once more and placed a gentle hand on her small shoulder. Emma, your mom is going to be so proud of how brave you were today. Sometimes the people we love do things that surprise us, but they do them because their hearts are full of love. Emma knocked softly on apartment 3B. After a few moments, the door opened to reveal a woman who was clearly Emma's mother. Sarah Thompson had the same blue eyes and delicate features as her daughter, but her face was pale and drawn, marked by the exhaustion that comes from fighting a serious illness. She was wearing a soft robe and slippers, and her hair was covered by a colorful scarf. "Emma!" Sarah exclaimed, dropping to her knees to embrace her daughter. "Where have you been? I found your note, and I was so worried." She looked up and saw Marcus standing in the hallway, dressed in his expensive suit and looking completely out of place in the modest apartment building. "Mrs. Thompson," Marcus said gently, "I'm Marcus Sterling. I believe you had an interview scheduled with me this morning." Sarah's eyes widened in shock and embarrassment. She looked from Marcus to Emma and back again, understanding beginning to dawn on her face. "Oh my God," she whispered. "What did you do?" "I went to help," Emma said simply. "I took your folder and told Mr. Sterling that you really need the job. He's nice, Mommy. He has a big office with lots of books, and he rode in the car with me to make sure I got home safe." Over the next hour, sitting in Sarah's small but cozy living room, Marcus learned the full story. Sarah was a single mother who had been battling breast cancer for 8 months. She had depleted her savings paying for treatments not covered by insurance and had been out of work for 3 months while undergoing chemotherapy. The interview with Marcus represented her hope for financial stability and a chance to rebuild her life while continuing her treatment. As Sarah spoke, Marcus watched Emma playing quietly with her dolls in the corner, occasionally looking over to make sure her mother was okay. He saw the love between mother and daughter, the careful way they took care of each other, and the quiet dignity with which they faced their challenges. When Sarah finished her story, Marcus was quiet for a long moment, then he reached into his briefcase and pulled out a folder. "Mrs. Thompson," he said, "I've reviewed your qualifications and they're impressive. Your references speak very highly of your abilities. But more than that, today I've learned something about your character that no Ray Some could ever show me. Your daughter's courage tells me everything I need to know about the kind of person you are and the values you've taught her." Sarah looked at him with cautious hope. "Mr. Sterling, I appreciate you taking the time to." "The job is yours," Marcus interrupted gently. "But I have some conditions. First, we'll arrange your schedule around your medical appointments. Second, my company has an excellent health insurance plan that will cover your treatments. Third, we have an on-site daycare center where Emma can stay after school until you're ready to go home. And fourth," he paused, smiling at Emma, who had stopped playing and was listening intently. "Fourth, I think we need to start a scholarship program for children who show exceptional courage and love for their families. I believe I know just the right person to be our first recipient." Sarah began to cry, but they were tears of relief and joy. Emma ran over and climbed into her mother's lap, wrapping her small arms around her neck. "Does this mean we don't have to worry about money anymore?" Emma asked. "It means," Marcus said, "that sometimes when we show love and courage, good things happen. And it means that you and your mom are going to be just fine." As Marcus prepared to leave, Emma tugged on his sleeve. "Mr. Sterling, thank you for not being mad that I came instead of Mommy." Marcus knelt down one last time and looked into those wise blue eyes. "Emma, you taught me something very important today. You reminded me what really matters in life. Thank you for that gift." 6 months later, Sarah Thompson had become one of Marcus's most valued employees. Emma thrived in the company daycare, charming everyone with her bright personality and innate kindness. And Marcus had discovered that the best business decision he ever made had nothing to do with profits or market shares. It had everything to do with a little girl in a pink dress who loved her mother enough to carry hope across a city, one small step